And in this day and age, oh, mm, we need it
Right, right.
big time. And you do a lot of work with the community. You're in Atlanta proper, correct?
Yes, yes. I am in the West End of
Uh-huh.
Atlanta. Yes. I'm up the street from Morehouse. Yes.
Oh, you are.
Yes, yes.
I know the area. I'm getting there, girl. We talked about this before, but it's gonna happen. I know it's gonna happen, and I ain't just coming for a day. So get
Come
ready.
on, sister. Come on, come
I'm
on, come on.
coming. I'm coming.
I'm on.
Um, Talk a little bit about that work with the community because I think how wherever whether we have some official letters, numbers, certificates, whatever after our name or not. Those of us that feel compelled to work with our community have to find ways to enter there and have that happen and flourish. How have you managed to do that?
Um, I would say by being the demonstration
Mm,
of what it is that I say I believe in.
mm,
Our folks don't listen to, in my experience, the voice from on high. There's too many voices from on high trying to tell us who to be, what to do, what to da, 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 da. And
right.
so I think we've learned to just kind of, yeah, whatever, you know? And
Mhm,
so rather than say, you need to eat this as a nutritionist, or this is what you need to be doing as an or as an herbalist or as a naturopath or even as a massage therapist, or you know, do this from up here.
right.
What I did was, and I'm a transplant to Atlanta. I've been here, it's home to me now. I've been here since 2001.
Mm-hmm.
So it's home for me now. But I'm originally from Minneapolis,
Mm-hmm.
and I left there because it's a cold place in more than one
Mm,
way. And I didn't, for many, many years, have anybody in my practice that I was helping that looked like me, and that troubled my heart. And so I came here on purpose, and I didn't
mm-hmm.
know a soul. I did not know one person in Atlanta. I had never been to Atlanta. I
Mm.
woke up when spirit say go, you go.
That's
And so I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to go to Atlanta. I don't know why. And I'm obedient. I'm going. And so I came here and I literally knew no one. But what I did was I volunteered at the local co-op.
oh. Mm-hmm.
I signed up to be a volunteer, a worker member at the co-op at Savananda. And and I sat there and I said, what can I do there? And they said, well, you can stock groceries and put cans on the shelf. And I said, I'm a naturopath. Is there an herbalist? What do you think about me setting up a table and just doing mini consults with people? And then what I recommend for them, herbally or nutritionally, is here in the store, and they
Mm-hmm.
can get it. Would that serve and would that be? And they're like, oh, that's awesome. So every weekend I would set up a little table right smack in the middle of the herb department, and I made
Mm-hmm.
it all pretty and put a little fountain and everything. And I put a little note card that said, consultations. And people came and sat in the chair across from me. And I'd be like, okay, what's up? And that's how I met all of my friends that I have here now today. I'm still friends with some of those people 20 years later. And that's how I built my practice,
Mm-hmm.
by people coming and sitting. And it was whoever was drawn to me. I didn't have a website or anything.
Right, right.
Right. It was like whoever comes is supposed to come. And if you need longer than this 15-minute consult for what you've got going on, hit me up. And that's how that it kind of happened very organically, which is
Mm-hmm.
kind of what I was used to. Um, I spent most of my time in Minnesota on the res because that's where I felt more comfortable. So I would come back into the city for work, but for the most part, I'd stay on the reservation. um, and do ceremony and lodge and listen to the elders talk and sit at their feet. And so, that was kind of what I was used to. So I wanted to recreate as close as I could that experience for myself so I feel comfortable. So fast forward to, so that's how I met and built my practice here. And then when I moved to the West End, it was really a strategic move also, so I could really just kind of be in the hood.
Yes.
And what I did was I set up outside in my front yard.
Oh.
I did everything that I could do outside in my front yard.
Mm.
So when people came and they wanted seated chair massage, I'm like, how do you feel about working outside? And they'd be like, okay. I set my massage chair up outside in the front yard. People are driving by, and then they're slowing down like, what in the world is this? I'm looking at them, they're looking at me. And if we worked out, people come to me to work out, say, we're going to train outside. We were training outside in the grass. The kettlebells were outside. The
Wow.
was
Yeah.
outside. The yoga therapy,
Outside.
Outside in the yard where everybody driving by or walking by could see. And at first, it was like, oh, it's that weird lady in the yard. Mm-hmm. And she will not cut her grass. And they're like, why is your grass so long? And you know how our folks are, they'll just ask you. I said, well, because there's medicinal herbs here and I'm harvesting them and preparing medicine. So I'd be preparing medicine. I'd be harvesting in the yard and making stuff. I made a little sign. This is dandelion and this is good for that. I put signs on my weeds in my yard so that people knew this is what we used to do.
That's right.
Before too long, people would stop. My grandmama used to do that. My great grandmother, you know what? She was just like, she used to go and get stuff from the yard and she would make it. And I'm remembering now. It's the reminding process of this is not new to us. It was taken from us, but it's not new. We didn't call it anything. It's now called alternative medicine or alternative healing. It's not alternative. This is traditional healing. Right. There are glyphs on the cave walls in Kemet, aka Egypt.
Yes.
Of us making herbal medicines, doing cupping therapy with bull horns, doing ear candling with rolled up pieces of papyrus, of us doing massage therapy. There's a whole scroll that was stolen and is in the museum in Germany that has all the plants and the physical interactions and herbs and how they're used and how to do massage and reflexology for affecting different organs of the body, etc. All there, 13,000 years old.
Wow.
So this is not new to us. We have amnesia. And so by being outside and just showing these things, and people drive, and then before too long they'd stop. Hey, is this a class? Is this private? Can I work out with you guys? You absolutely can. I'm out here every day at this time. Come on by. And this is how the class grew for fitness. This is how it happened. This is how, oh, my shoulder hurts. What should I do for this? I said, you can do these exercises. Try these. Do these at home. Come on back and see me if you need more help. This is how it occurred, by demonstration, by reminding. And there's something in us that remembers.
It's true.
And all you have to do, in every movie where people have lost their memory, they got hit upside the head, right?
Yeah, right.
Clunk. And they're like, I don't know who I am. And so they are getting their butt kicked, usually, because they don't know who they are.
Right.
They have to get hit upside the head again.
Right.
And then they're like, wait a minute, I can handle this. And then they begin to regulate the situation and they end up winning. So I was like, this is how it has to happen. We have to be reminded of who
Mm.
we are, and not from on high, but from, I'm out here in the yard. I live in
And
this
yeah,
neighborhood. I'm your neighbor.
yes.
I'm your sister. I'm out here barefoot. Why are you in your yard barefoot? Well, there's this thing called earthing.
Earthing,
Do
yes.
this, that, 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 that. So I take everything when they stop and give me the weird, I take it as a teaching opportunity to remind my folks of what they forgot.
What they forgot. That is just like my mind is going, wow, there's just like so much here. Because part of what you're saying is um one, be authentic, your authentic self.
Right.
So your authentic self did these things outside. You just, and those that are drawn to you or for they're meant to be kind of
They're
thing.
ready. They're ready. They're ready to hear it.
And what it says to me is that many of us don't risk doing that.
Right. Will look funny. It's unprofessional.
Ourselves.
I had an office downtown
Mm-hmm.
and it was really expensive. And I had lots of overhead. And they're like, don't paint the walls and don't cut
Mm.
holes in the walls and don't put no art up and da, 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 da. And do you see my space?
Yeah,
This is my whole
I
space is
see
like
you.
this.
Mhm.
So that wasn't me. And so I got people that weren't
Right,
in with who I was. I had to charge so much that hardly
right,
anybody I knew would have ever been able to come. It
right.
just was incongruent with everything I did. And I
Mhm.
was like, you know what? That's it. They were so shocked. I'm like, I'm not renewing my lease. I'm moving my space into the hood. There is a bus stop outside the door. You can take the bus to get to me. The train station is 2 blocks away. You can get to me, regular folk, right? You
Mhm.
know, and I'm the probably only naturopath who lowered her prices so that I was accessible, and I would have specials, and they would be set your own fee specials. It was like whatever you can get, because that's how we operated.
Right.
You know,
It's
when
very
I
true.
lived on the res, people would bring me maple syrup and woven earrings and
Mhm.
blankets, because that's what they had,
Right.
you know. And then when they could give money, they did. But and I promise you, I've never had anyone take advantage of me when I
Hmm.
did that. I've never had anybody, you know, be foul and not. And most of the time when I did that, people would give me more than what I was going to charge anyway.
Yeah.
And it's like, you really have to, I mean, what do you believe? What do you
Mm.
believe in? Yes, we are operating in the West. Yes, we are in America. And yet, no, Georgia Power does not take barter trades, blankets, or maple syrup. You know, I do have to pay my electric bill. However, what do you believe? You know, how are you walking in this world? And do you believe, are you the demonstration of what it is you say you believe in?
There you go.
And you know, is there something for the divine to make a way for you to
Hmm.
provide for you, to take care of you? And where I come from as an Ogijida and as a sun dancer, um, you know, I was taught that what we pray for, we get. And so be mindful
Yeah.
about what you ask for, but that if you ask for it and your heart is good, you're going to get it. And I've never found that not to be true. And so
I hear you.
here I am, and I've been in Georgia now, like I said, 21 years, and I haven't missed a meal yet.
There you go. There you go. You know, a few things. So I'm tracking back to the very beginning when you talked about who you are. And that name is, you said, no, that's not something I made up. That is my name. It's on my birth certificate. Um, and I'm going, okay, girl, I hear you. um, to talking about those reminding ourselves. And so I'm having all these images, which I often talk about, and I have shared with um, our boys. My great great grandmother, who looked way more indigenous than anything else, and we know we was all mixed up. She was 7 years old during the emancipation of the slaves. I was raised in New Jersey, and in a household with multi generations that was very matriarchal and matrifocal. I mean, it was a whole bunch of women in there, great aunts, great great grandmothers, great grandmother, my mother was, and my uncle, and some boarders, you know.
Right, right.
Scotch Plains, New Jersey. And the stories, she passed when I was 7. 7 is a huge number in my life. And I have the clearest memories of walking in the woods with that woman. And she always looked, well, always looked. She either wore her hair in two braids or she crisscrossed them on top of her head. And she would walk and she would call me baby. And we would go in the woods and she would point out things. And a couple times I've said to he goes, how do you know that? I said, I don't know, but I do remember walking in the woods. I do know that bark on that tree can be used to make a tea to do XYZ. How I know it is reminding. It's in there because she taught me.
Yes.
She walked and she taught me. She taught me about moss. And I mean, I know names of plants that I didn't even know I knew names of plants.
Right.
Seriously. And it's
right.
so interesting. It is,
Right.
it is so all of what you're saying to me is like sort of bringing back, reminding me, you know, what is a part of heritage, right? I don't know for sure. History says Cherokee. I don't know what it was. And I'm clueless about the African piece, other than when I did 23andMe, it says I'm like 85%, somewhere in there between a lot of it's Nigerian and somewhere else in there with Ghanaian, right?
Right.
But so you don't really know, you know, so many of us don't really know. So when I'm listening to you, I'm like, oh my God, what a blessing that you know.
Right.
What such a blessing that you know, and that you lived on the res, and that you have all that history, and that you're connected to all that. Because in essence, that is all yoga. You know,
It's all
I'm
yoga.
always reminding people yoga has absolutely very little to do with the physical piece, the asana practice. That is the smallest piece, in my opinion.
Right.
By looking at the gram,
Right.
no, you wouldn't. No, smallest piece. And I think that the part that you're talking about, the reminding, reconnecting with Kemet and who we are as a people, you know, there's this awakening that's happening. That's the only way I can describe it.
It is.
You know, I don't know how to tell people. People often will look at me like, oh, there she go with that stuff again.
Right. There she go with that stuff. And I'm like, sweetie, they stole the furniture out of your grandmother's house.
Thank you.
And they put it in a museum.
Mm.
And then they put a sign up that said, don't touch it.
Mm.
And then they programmed you to be afraid of it.
Mm. Right.
It was on purpose because it has power.
Right.
It has power.
Huge.
And if you remember who you be, they can't hold you hostage anymore.
Mm-mm.
Your mind becomes free.
Mm-hmm.
And you become fearless. And fear is the primary sickness in the West.
Woo.
And so so much. I mean, when I went, I had spent a lot of time around my native family. And so I said, okay, it's time to go to Africa. And so I got it together. And once I found out, more about my blood and that, I said, okay, I'm going to where my blood resides.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Ghana. I went to Ashanti land. And you don't have to do 23andMe. they'll tell you where you're from and who you're
I know,
from. They
right?
recognize you.
They
They know
look at
that.
you.
I got off the plane, and I got off the plane, and in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to see this new place. I'm in a new place and I'm ready. And I looked around and I looked around and I